Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Storytime with Nonie and Finnegan. Today we are going to have a story that is a true story. It's a Bible story. It is found in God's Word, the Bible, and everything that's in the Bible is true. And this is a story about a little boy, a young man by the name of Joseph. And he is going to begin on a journey that he did not really want to go on. But it was a journey that God wanted him to go on. And you know, boys and girls, when we love God and when we obey Him and follow Him, He gives us His eyes to see. And so as we go through this story, you might want to put on God's eyes. Now, you won't have glasses like mine. These aren't really magic. They're just for fun to remind us that we need to see the things that happen through God's eyes, because He sees things that we don't see. So, since you don't have glasses, maybe what you want to do is use pretend glasses. You can just reach up to heaven and say, Jesus, give me your eyes to see what you want to teach me today. And you pull those glasses out of heaven and put them on like this. Can you do this? When you look around, you can see things. And that's going to remind you that Jesus has something He wants to teach you today from His Word. Here, even Finnegan will put glasses on. Finnegan. All right, boys and girls, so we're going to have a story about Joseph. Well, boys and girls, do you know why God created us? He created us because He loves us and He wanted us to love and worship and serve Him in return. And you know, there was a time when many of the people did not do that. And so God chose one man who would be His special chosen person to be the father of a great nation. His name was Abraham. That's a whole nother story. But I'm introducing Abraham because Abraham had a son named Isaac, and Isaac had a son named Jacob, and that is who our story is going to begin with today. Jacob was in the family of God's chosen people, the Jews. And Jacob had 12 sons. Now, do you have brothers and sisters? I'll bet you don't have 11 of them. Well, the young man in our story, the main person in our story, is a young man by the name of Joseph. He was one of the youngest children of the 12. There was Judah and Levi and Reuben, and I'm not going to name all of these other brothers that were in the family. There were just a lot of them. 12 all together. And there was only one who was younger than Joseph, and his name was Benjamin. Well, you know, grown-ups and parents don't know everything. They are not perfect. They're learning just like we are. And sometimes they make mistakes. And sometimes they don't always do the very best things, even though they think they are at the time. Jacob made a mistake. He didn't know it at the time, I don't think. But the mistake he made was that he had a favorite son. And the favorite son's name was Joseph. And the way he showed Joseph that he loved him more than all these other brothers was he gave Joseph a very special coat. It was a coat that had many colors in it, kind of like my scarf here. It had blue and purple and yellow and green and red. Oh, all kinds of beautiful colors. And you know what? Joseph's brothers were jealous. They all wished their father loved them as much as he loved Joseph. Well, one day, Joseph had a dream. I should say one night Joseph had a dream. He dreamed that he was out in the field with his brothers, and all of a sudden all of Joseph's brothers' bales of hay bowed down to Joseph. He was up here and they all bowed down to him. Well, the next morning he got up and he told his brothers, "Hey guys, I had this really interesting dream last night. I dreamed that we were out in the field and all your hay bales bowed down to mine." Well, guess what? Joseph's brothers did not appreciate that. They said, "What are you talking about, Joseph? You think that we would bow down and worship you? You are crazy." Well, not long after that, Joseph had another dream. He dreamed this time that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to him. Well, this time Joseph got up and he told not only his brothers, but he told his father as well about his dream. And his father said, "Joseph, you know I love you, son, but what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that your mother and I and all of your brothers are going to bow down and worship you?" "I don't know, Joseph. This just sounds crazy." So Joseph's brothers, they really began not liking him. He thought he was better than they were, and that's how their father treated him. But it made them kind of hate Joseph, not like him at all. And that was not right. That was not a God's response to Joseph. But God had a plan for Joseph. His father, Jacob, just kept that in his mind and wondered about it. What in the world could that dream mean, if anything? Well, one day, Joseph's brothers had gone on a trip. You see, they were shepherds, and sometimes the sheep would run out of food right there, and they'd have to go on a journey and take the sheep where there was more grass for them to eat. And that's what they had done. Well, they had been gone for several days, and Jacob called Joseph to him, and he said, "Son, I'm wondering how your brothers are doing, and I would really appreciate it if you would go and find them and see how it's going and then come back and tell me." And Joseph, you know, can you imagine being a young person and going on a trip by yourself? And it might take a couple days. It would be nighttime part of the time, and Joseph had to think about that a minute. He was not afraid. He said, "Yes, Father, I will do this thing. I'll go and I'll find my brothers and I'll come back and tell you how it's going." So Joseph started on the journey, and he traveled day and night for several days. And finally, he saw where his brothers were. Now, his brothers saw him coming when he was still a long ways off. His youngest brother, Benjamin, had stayed at home with his father. So there were just the 10 of them out there in the field. Well, they saw him coming, and they were like, "Oh, brother, here comes that dreamer, our brother Joseph. Oh, I wish we could just do away with him. He's a troublemaker, that one is." They got to talking about it, and they came up with a horrible idea because they hated him so much. One of them said, "Hey, let's kill him." Well, the oldest brother, Judah, said, "Well, I don't know if that's such a good idea. He is our brother." And Reuben said, well, I've got an idea. Instead of killing him, look at this old well here. When he gets here, let's just put him down that well, and we'll leave him there, and then he'll just die, and we won't ever have to worry about it again. We won't really be killing him that way. Well, see, Reuben didn't want Joseph to die, and so he was thinking in his mind, I'll come back later on, and I'll pick him up out of that pit, and I'll save him and take him home to our father. Well, Reuben must have gone off to take care of the sheep, because it doesn't tell us where he was later on as Joseph came into that place. But they came in, Joseph came in, hey guys, our father's wondering how you're doing. And you know what those brothers did? They pulled that coat off of Joseph, and then they threw it on the ground, and they took Joseph. I don't even know if they made any explanations, but they just put him down, 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 farther into that pit. And it was a dry well, so there was no water in there, but it was very dark. And can you imagine how scary that would be? And Joseph's like, what's going on, you guys? Hey, wait a minute. I just came to see how you're doing. Okay, this is enough now. I don't like this game. Let me up out of here. Hey, you guys, come on. And the brothers just went off, and they ate their dinner, and leaving Joseph down in the pit. Well, not too long after that, they were still eating, when far off in the distance, they saw a caravan coming. Now these were merchants or salespeople. They carried things like spices and very special colors of material and things like that, and they would take it from one place and to go to another place and sell it. Well, they were on their way to Egypt, and the brothers decided, hey, instead of just letting Joseph die, why don't we make some money on this deal? Let's just sell him to them and be done with him, and we'll get some money out of this. And so Joseph's brothers pulled him up out of that pit. He probably was thinking, oh good, they're done with their game. They pulled him up, and they took Joseph over to this caravan of traders, salespeople, and they asked the merchants if they would like to buy Joseph. Well, Joseph was a nice, healthy young man. They gave the brothers 20 pieces of silver to buy Joseph. He was being sold as a slave. I'm not sure Joseph could even imagine what was happening to him. I mean, one morning he wakes up, he is his father's favorite son, he thinks he's going to be somebody important, that God has these really important plans for him, and now his brothers are selling him? First of all, they're going to kill him, and now they're going to sell him? How could this be happening? This didn't seem like God's plan, and it didn't even seem like it was real. He surely must have thought that he had, it was in some kind of horrible, bad dream. Well, the merchants carried Joseph off with them to a far away country named Egypt. And then the brothers began to think, what are we going to tell our father? Well, and Reuben came back ready to pull Joseph out of the pit. And can you imagine how horrified he was when he came and did not find Joseph in the well? And the brothers said, oh, we were able to just sell him. We made money on this deal, and now we're rid of him. But now they had the problem. What were they going to tell their father? So they made up a lie. A lie is when we say things that are not true. That is not what God wants from us at all. It's not a part of God's kingdom. Lying is a part of Satan's kingdom. Well, what they did was they took Joseph's coat, they killed a goat, they dipped Joseph's coat in the blood, and then they brought it back to their father Jacob. Can you imagine how Jacob must have felt when they came and they said, "Father, on our journey back we found this coat, and we brought it to you because we thought it might look like our brother's coat." And Jacob looked at that coat with the blood on it, and it was torn, and he said, "Oh, this is my son Joseph's coat." And he was so sad and sorrowful. What was he going to do without his favorite son Joseph? He just could hardly imagine it. He did not know that Joseph was not really dead, that Joseph was alive. Joseph was on a journey that he did not choose for himself. But as time goes by, you'll see in another lesson how God chose to use Joseph in great and mighty ways, because even though all these bad things were happening to Joseph, God was going to make it all okay in the end. All right, boys and girls, I love you. Bye-bye.